have him here and give his message to you guys. So I would like to introduce Dr. Joseph Jennings.
Oh, somebody caught that. How about a hand clap for my homeboy? Come back up here, Jeff. I stopped and got him a t-shirt. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so I had to make sure we bought him something from Atlanta. It's amazing that this young man actually was 20 years ago, to put an age on me, 20 years ago. I used to live up here in Marshville, Wisconsin, and I've spoken probably the majority of all the schools in the area. And I came to his school and he had heard my tape, and there was a spoken word, and I was so blessed that, I don't know, a year ago, he emailed me and said, I heard you speak years ago, and I've got your tape, and I want another tape, and they, on and on and on. But what's so powerful about that is the fact that he heard a word. I never really knew until we started talking that the reason why he didn't drink, the reason why he made good choices about his life was because of a person speaking a word. So how about a hand clap for my boy? I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he's a police officer. I'm proud that he's a police officer. A lot of times I collaborate with police officers. They used to be my enemy. When I was a bad boy, they used to be my enemy. We were enemies, and once I turned into a good boy, I found that the power of an officer. Let me challenge you. We don't have time to go into it, but let me challenge you, not so much in this community, but a lot of places that I go, people view the police as the enemy, and the police is not the enemy. The police are actually ministers in the community. So I want to challenge you to kind of dispel that there's a thing in the black community called no snitch, that regardless of what anyone does, we're not going to tell the police. So let me just throw that out there for you so you'll understand it. My name is Dr. Joseph Jennings. I'm a national motivational speaker. I'm currently on tour of the United States and other countries. I speak at high schools and middle schools primarily about issues that affect today's young people. There are some of you that are sitting here right now that when you walk out of here today, you're going to say, what he talked about I can relate to because of the fact of what you're going through. I'm not moved by what grade you are. I'm not moved by you. I am telling you, those of you that are sitting here right now, if you'll understand what I'm saying, it can change your life. No one never came to my school. I never had a principal. I never had anybody, for the most part, that really thought I could make it. As a matter of fact, they told me I would die before I was 21 years old. Now I got 3 rules, so I want to make sure that you know my rules so that we don't be tripping later on. You can finish doing our hair later on. If you're sitting here, if you got a notebook or whatever, rule number 1, I want you to close your notebooks. We're going to have an assembly. It's going to go extremely fast. It's going to be over. But I'm going to promise you, though, I'm going to present a case to you and allow you to do whatever you want to do with that. If you're here today, whatever choice you want to make about your life, I don't have a problem with it. But I got rules. That's rule number 1. I don't want you to turn around, tripping, doing all that kind of stuff. Rule number 2, for 1 hour, maybe 45 minutes normally, I'm going to be the teacher. I believe that knowledge is power. I believe that the way that you get knowledge is through the sharing and gathering of information. I might not be the best speaker in the world, but I've got a lot of information. I've been through a lot. I've written 3 books, one about my life, and I'll get into it in a minute. You about done with that hair, baby? You about done with her hair? You about done with that hair? Okay, I don't want you braiding while I'm speaking. Okay, that's not going to get it. Okay, that's not going to get it at all. I didn't just come here to say something. I got something to say. I believe it's a lie when people look at you and say that you guys are not going through anything. That's a lie. So I want to challenge you as we get started. And I have a 3rd rule. If I need to impose that 3rd rule, there's a lot of places I go to that the schools are completely out of control. There are police officers and a lot of gang things going on, the drug things going on, but nevertheless, it doesn't make a difference to me because that's where I come from. So I'm not trying to impress anybody today. I'm going to tell you part of my story. I'm not trying to make you do anything. I'm not going to twist your arm. I do want to say before I get started, I believe that you're a kid. I believe that every one of you that is sitting here right now, as long as you go to school, you are just a kid. I want you to know that it's okay to be a kid. But at the same time, I'm going to challenge you. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, you're just a kid. And when you're a kid, you ought to be having fun. This ought to be the time of your life. If you're going to prom, there's going to be a graduation. This ought to be a time when you can look back years from now and say, you know what? I had a real good time. But you know what? There's a bunch of you that are sitting here right now. You can't say that because you're not having fun. As a matter of fact, there's some of you that are sitting here right now that are depressed. devastated. And I'm telling you, unless you lay a foundation down, unless you get correct information, you will not make it. So I want to challenge you to rethink the way you think. Okay? So we want to get started. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. But let me ask you a question. Let's do a survey before we get started. Just very quickly, how many of you that are sitting here right now have already drank or tasted beer, wine, or liquor before? Let me see here. Anybody ever drank or tasted beer? Okay. White boy got two hands up. All right, put it down, put it down. Look up here. Watch this here. Now, normally y'all kind of reserved, and that's okay, but I go into schools, man, where there might be 2,000 kids, and they jump up and they scream. I mean, they holler. They just wave and chew hands. I had a boy jump on top of the bleachers one day and said, "My name is Mr. Bud." You know what I'm talking about? So the thing, now watch this here. It doesn't blow my mind that so many young folks have drank before. What blows my mind is the fact that we have kids that are proud of it. And here's what I want to present to you. The first thing I want to talk about. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, you're just like me. My mama told me, as much as I love my mama told me that when I was a kid, that it was okay for me to drink in moderation. My mother lied to me. My mother gave me the wrong information. And in one of my books, I talk about drinking, getting drunk as a little bitty kid. My mama never knew that it would open up the door for me to be a dope addict for 14 years of my life. It's a gateway drug, but alcohol is a drug. And I'm saying to those of you that are sitting here right now, I used to follow my mom around for years. I mean, as a little bitty boy, and I've always been a thug. I was always out there fighting, and I would follow my mom around. I love my mama so much. I would follow my mama to taverns, and I would sit outside, me and my brother, and some nights, the lights would go off, and I would go in and I would look for my mama, and my mama would be on the floor drunk. She would be passed out, and sometimes she would vomit on herself or go to the bathroom on herself. But I loved my mama, and I would get down on my knees, and I would wipe my mama up, and I would pick my mama up, and I would take my mama home, and then I would watch my daddy beat my mama. Other nights, there would be a fight inside the tavern, and invariably my mama would get drunk, and they'd want to fight everybody. Me and my brother would go inside the tavern, and my brother and I would fight grown men, take my mama home, and watch my daddy beat my mama down. My mama was an alcoholic, and she lied to me. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, and you've been lied to as well. You can smile and you can joke about it all you want. Some of you drink all the time. But I'm telling you, there's some of you that have been through what I went through, and you're going through it now because your parents, either they're alcoholics or they drink all the time, and now you're carrying on and you're repeating the curse. I'm telling you today that there's a price you have to pay for that. Every one of you that are sitting here right now, there's a price that you have to pay. There's some of you that are sitting here right now, you hear what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not researching, and I know that some of you are depressed. I know that some of you are going through hell. I know that some of you have parents that are just like my parents. Although I love them, they gave me the wrong information. I want to challenge you today to rethink the way that you're thinking. I want to challenge you as a senior, that when you leave this high school and you walk out to the real world, you don't got no monkey on your back, because they will snatch you and suck you up, and you'll never make it out there. You'll never make it. You're just a kid. Listen to me. It's okay to be a kid. But there's a process that one day there's no problem that says, when I was a kid, I thought, reasoned, acting like a kid, but when I became an adult, I grew up to be a man. Hear what I'm saying? There becomes a time when you're going to grow up. Part of that time is now. Here's the process. Now watch this. I'm not going to make you do anything. If you want to drink, fine. All I'm saying today is that there's a price you're paying for it. I'm saying there's some of you that are sitting here right now, you already paid a price, or you will pay a price, but it ought to be a choice that you make, but you can't make a good choice about your life unless you hear all the information. You've been bombarded with so much negative information, and no one is telling you about the consequences that you have to pay. Even as a kid, you have to pay the price. I paid the price, you have to pay the price. My whole life, you know what they did? They pointed fingers at me because I was from the wrong side of the tracks. They said I would die before I was 21 years old. They put a curse on my life. They put a curse on my life, and I almost died. And very few people bought in the word. Very few people told me that I could still make it. I'm saying today that you can make it regardless of what you come out of. I was in the school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'll never forget it as long as I live. When I got to the school, the police are out there, metal detectors. They banging, slanging at the school. 1,500 kids, Memorial High School. And I never forget when I walked in and started speaking, and we had a real good time. There were a couple of people there that were challenging, but we got past all that. We got past the 5%ers. To make a long story short, I presented my case to them like I'm going to present today, and I'm going to say it again. Do what you got to do. No one can make you do anything. No one can make choices for your life but you. But I'm telling you, there's a price that you have to pay for it. To make a long story short, I spoke that day, all kind of gang members. But I came back a year later, and I'll never forget it. I was walking down the hallway, and a young man ran up behind me. He said, "Joseph," and I turned around. And he told me about a little girl who was at the assembly. I never met her. He told me her story. She was in the newspaper. I said, "Get me the article. This is the article. You got to read it." Here was a young girl, 15 years old, like 4 million other kids that I've spoken to, lectured to. That girl left the assembly, and she made a choice about her body. We had talked about being African. We talked about the whole sexual revolution kind of thing, and I presented information. I said, "Now you got to make up your mind as to what you're going to do." Never met the girl, but she left her that day. Not long after that, she got pregnant, 16 years old. This young girl, I want you to see it. This young girl, 16 years old, carried the baby for 9 months. 9 months, her little baby's inside of her womb. At the end of her pregnancy, the article reads, her mom and dad went to the grocery store one night. She went into the bathroom with the help of her sister. She started having this baby. The baby came out. This girl took a knife, cut the cord, and stabbed the baby 21 times. After she stabbed this baby 21 times, she broke every bone in this baby's body and she dumped it in the trash can. I suggest today to you, I submit today to you that what she did was wrong. What she did was wrong. But yet you will have people that will get in front of you and they will tell you that there are no absolutes in life. They're telling you an absolute lie. If I was to take a survey right now, 94, I've been stabbed. I've been shot 13 times. I got 4 bullet holes in one arm. I got 238 slugs in front of my heart. To this day, I have a bullet in my spine. I should have died. I should have never made it. But I did make it. I made it to talk about it. But I got a whole bunch of homies who never made it. I got a whole bunch of boys that I was raised with, man, that never made it. They're locked up. My best friend is doing 160 years in prison for a double murder. Another brother's locked up in jail for 40 years. And I can go down the line. My father, as much as I love my dad, I'll never forget at nighttime. At nighttime, in my book I taught, we were always poor. We always moved every year. Never had food, never had clothes. I thought that was normal. And we would move, but nights, man, we had these rats and roaches. And I'll never forget, I would lay in bed at night and the lights would go off and the rats would come into the room and sometimes crawl into the crib and bite my little brother or sister. And I was the protector of my family. I'm the oldest son. And I'll never forget some nights I would hear noise in the room and I would grab or position myself to throw something and I would sit up as a little bitty kid and I would wipe the sleep out of my eyes and try to focus and I'll never forget some of those nights as I fixed my eyes, I would look across the room and I would watch my father molest my sister. I never knew until I went on a TV talk show that my father raped all 4 of my sisters. But I love my father, but what he taught me, what he showed me was wrong. Maybe there's some of you that are sitting here right now, that's your issue. If I was a betting man, I know what the statistics say, that 1 out of every 4 girls are going to be sexually abused by the time they're 18 years old, 1 out of 8. Some of you are sitting here right now. Some of you that are sitting here right now, you're just a kid, but you're a cutter, you're an eraser. There's some of you that are sitting here right now, you're suicidal. And if things don't change, then you're not going to make it. If anybody wants to fight for you, you got to fight for yourself. If there's anybody that's going to stand in the gap for you to get your back, you got to get your back. And you got to do it before it's too late. If there was ever time for you to grow up, if there's ever time for you to have a foundation, their time is now. That's why I said I don't got no jokes. I don't know how to rap, but what I do know is that I know that some of you are in trouble. I know there's some of you that are sitting here right now are experiencing some things that you ought not be experiencing as a kid. Because you are a kid, regardless of what you've been through, you are still a kid. I love my father. I want to challenge you right now to get this revelation. Look up here, please. I want to challenge you right now. There are some things that I can say that can change your life. Not because I'm a great speaker, not because I've been shot all those times, but I've experienced life and I made it. There are some of you that I ask myself, man, months after months, man, why do I meet so many kids that are going through so much hell? Well, why am I meeting kids that are 15 years old, that are depressed, that they're kids that want to kill themselves? And you know what? I locked into this. There was a time in our country. See, there is right and there is wrong. But it seems like they're taking everything away from you, man. They're not giving you any option. There was a time in our country where they had 10 rules on the wall. For the sake of argument, we don't have to talk about what they were, but there was one rule that was on the wall. And I'm telling you, if you grab a hold of this right here, the law of respect, if you there was a time when that one rule said to honor your mother and father. Even though my father was a killer, I honored my father. I honored the office. I didn't honor my father, the one that raped my sister. I honored my father, the office of my father. You got to get this here. Because there's some of you that are sitting here right now, and I was telling the principal that 50% of all white marriages end in divorce, 80% of all black marriages end in divorce, 80% of all black kids in this country don't have a father at home. 33.5 million kids live away from their biological father. Man, the attack is family. The attack is your family. And that's why you have to figure it out and break the curse. It said, honor your mother and father. If you honor your mom and dad, there's a promise you'll enjoy long life here on earth. I suggest the reason why some of you are not enjoying your life. You've never been taught to respect your parents. It's almost a thing of the past. How can you cuss out your mama? Some of you, all you got is a mama. Some of all you got is a dad. All you got is a grandmama. But maybe this is a perfect school. Maybe this is a perfect group of kids. I doubt that. I doubt that very, very much. And I'm challenging. Now here's the word I'm telling you, and I'll prove it in a moment. If you could break that curse over your life, I don't care what no one says to anybody. I'm telling you, there's a time when you have to learn to honor your mom and dad. And if you don't break the curse, what goes around comes around. And here's my challenge. I tell my mom all the time, I love you. I take care of my mom to this day, man. I honor my mama. My father's dead. He died even before I changed. I wish I could get my father back, but I can't get my father back. I want to challenge you today that if you've never told your parents, look up here, look up here. I don't want you to miss this, because that's part of where some of y'all's anger is. I want to challenge you today, if you've never ever in your entire life ever told your mom and dad you love them, I want to encourage you to do that today before it's too late. And here's the challenge. What happens today? What happens today? Look up there, look up there. You're just trying to get somebody. I don't want you to miss this. What happens today, God forbid, if the two brothers that just walked through the door happen to come down? What happens today? We'll wait for you to look back over here. What happens today if the principal gets up and the police officer walks in and they point you out and they take you to the office? Now you're freaked out, you're bugged because you don't know what's going on, you think you're in trouble, but there's something so solemn about it. And they take you to the office, and then they announce to you, they say, sit down. And then they tell you today when you left home, when your mama dropped you off at school, somebody killed her. I want you to think about that for a moment. If you got a dad, someone broke in the house and killed your mom and dad after you went to school, I wonder how would it make you feel? I don't think anybody would stand up and start laughing. I've met too many kids. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, your parents have already died. I've got bad news. They are gonna die. There's an appointed day of death for everybody. They are gonna die. Hopefully not soon, not while you're a kid. And so I'm saying before they die, let them know how you feel. It's okay. It's okay. It's not about being anti-parent. Man, some of you, all you got is a mom. Some of you, all you got is a grandmama or a granddad or whatever. What happens when they die? And then you're left alone to fight and fend for yourself. There are so many kids like that. I get letters all the time. But watch this here. I'm teaching you something. I'm teaching you how you can break a curse, because what goes around comes around. You can blow it off now. But what goes around, what comes around, goes around. And eventually there's a price that has to be paid for it. My whole life I struggled. My whole life I tried to be a good kid, but I couldn't. I never forget one time I got shot. I came home one day, and I was in the driveway, and I'll never forget, I heard someone scream. One person, I thought, but it was two. And they said, we're going to kill you. And they started firing these guns. And they shot me twice in my arm, and I spun around, and I got my gun back out, because that's how I was taught. I lived like that, and I'll never forget, point blank, they shot me with a .38 and blew me up against a car, and they kept on shooting these guns. They shot me 5 times, and my gun is empty. They shot me 5 times and I broke and ran and fell into a gutter and started dying. Blood's coming out of my mouth and I can't breathe. I'll never forget that day. I was such a hypocrite because I called out to God and said, I don't want to die. And what was so stupid about that it wasn't because I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die alone. If I'm going to die, I got to go out like this. I got to go out street thug style, not in an alley, not somewhere where no one can see me. That day I went to the hospital. I'll never forget it. All the bullets that hit my arm, went through my arm, that 238 slugs that went in my chest, never came out. When I got to the hospital, they couldn't find them. And I decided to kill the people who shot me. Here's what I want you to get, the only reason why I tell you this story. I get out of the hospital at 5:30 in the morning. They said on the radio I had died, and I decided to kill the people. I knew who they were. I was going to go to their house. When they thought that I was dead, I was going to go to their house and pour gasoline around the house and set it on fire. When they came out, I was going to kill everybody that came out. Now watch this, but I thought about what I was doing. Even as a maniac, even as a bully, I thought about what I was doing. All I'm asking you today is to think about what you're doing. You know, you're not dumb. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. I'm challenging you to think about it. Think about the choices you're making and think about the consequences. Could I have killed them? You better believe it. That's how I live, a very violent lifestyle. That's how I live. I thought about it. I thought about what I was doing. I used my common sense. See, there's some of you that are sitting here right now, you don't use your common sense. Common sense say run across the freeway, you'll get hit. Common sense say stick your hand in fire, you'll be burned. That's what common sense say. Your generation don't use common sense no more. There are consequences to the choice that you make in your life. I thought about it. What did I think about? Did I think about myself? No. You know what I thought about? I thought about my kids. I thought that if I killed them, my kids wouldn't have a father. I thought about I'd have to spend the rest of my life in prison. And because of that, I said no, and I called it off. You say, what about your reputation? I didn't care about my reputation. My reputation just came and just followed me. And I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I could not pay I could not be locked up the rest of my life where my daughter was left to fend by herself. There are some of you that are here today, you're left to fend by yourself. There are some of you that are so alone. I wish I could tell a joke. I wish I could sing a song. But there are some of you that are sitting here right now. You're going through the time of your life. I've told adults over and over again that we have kids. That we have kids that have seen too much, that have experienced too much, and you're going through too much stuff as a kid. I just want to challenge you to think about it today before it's too late. I want to challenge you today to rethink the way that you've been thinking before it's too late. I had a young girl that came up one day. I had spoken in a middle school, and actually was here in Wisconsin. And this little girl stood up, and she asked me a question. She says, now, of all the crimes you've ever committed, she said, what is the biggest crime? And I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm not trying to be bad. What is. What I did, I was ashamed of, but it's what I did. Now watch this here. She said, of all the crimes you've ever committed, she said, what is the biggest crime? And I started rambling on all these things that I had done. But I'll never forget watching those kids that day, and I could see the amazement on their face. Even when I showed bullet holes, if I was to pull up my shirt and all the scars and the skull marks and all that kind of stuff, some kids can't relate to that. That's good. But there are some of you that are sitting here that can't relate to it. So I'm telling these stories, these kids are freaking, and I thought to myself when I finished, I can't do that no more. There are stories I can't tell in the school system. But there's one that I still tell. My younger brother, the one that we used to hang out and we used to fight and protect my mom and all that kind of stuff. My same brother that I fought with my whole life. I'll never forget one day that I had gotten high and woke up the next day with a hangover and I walked by my brother and he bumped me. I don't know what he said to this day, but I hit him. I just started fighting because that's what I always did. That's how I responded all the time. Some of you, that's what you do. You respond now the way you did in elementary school. Some of you have anger issues, but I'm here today to tell you that whoever controls your anger controls you. I'm going to say that again. Whoever controls your anger, maybe I know a lot of you are real good kids, and maybe you're not from the hood, the inner city, but it still is relevant. Whoever controls your anger controls you. If I would have let those folks who shot me control me, I would be in jail right now. So me and my brother started arguing. I'll never forget, we had been fighting, and I went out of my car and got a jackhammer, and I came back in the house, and I cut off part of his finger, and we kept on fighting, and he went and got some hot water and brought it back and threw it at me, and he hit my chest, half my chest is scalded, and I went and got a gun, because that's how we settle things back where I'm from. And I never forget walking into the house that day. I'm ashamed of it, but I did it. And I walked in the house that day, and I got my pistol right next to me, and my father's sitting there reading the newspaper. I don't care. I love you, but I don't care. I'm only going to do what you taught me to do. My mom's in the kitchen cooking. My brothers and sisters are playing, and I never forget, I walked into our bedroom, and there my brother is. He's tall and dark. His girlfriend then came over, and her arms are wrapped around him, and she's crying all this trauma, and his hand is wrapped up in a white towel that's now red from blood. All he's trying to do is get to the hospital. But I was so angry. I was always so angry. See, hurting people hurt people. Some of you that are sitting here right now, you operate off that spirit. And I never forget, man, I was so angry. I just walked up in that room and took that pistol and put it in his face, and I emptied the gun. I'll never forget it as long as I live, but the only good thing about it was the fact that he didn't die. I just had my books reprinted. The second page of my book showed a picture of my brother, and it's now missing. But it'll blow your mind what happened to him years later. When I got done speaking that day, the little girl was still standing there saying, no, but what's the most hideous thing you've ever done? And then it blew my mind. It dawned on me. It wasn't me selling the drugs. It wasn't me banging. It wasn't most of the things I've done in my life, but it was a crime I committed against a boy named James. James lived out in Cali. 15 years old, he turned out like his old man. He's out there banging and slanging. They lock him up and put him in jail. Chino, 5 years in and out. You say, what'd you do to James? Did you shoot James too? Nope. What'd you do to James? He's my son. What goes around, comes around. My son turned out like I did. I was never able to give my son the right information. I love my son. I love my daughters. But I trained them wrong. Now watch this here. They locked him up 5 years, man. And one day they let him out. And I flew out to Cali and I picked my son up. I'll never forget it, man. We went to South Central LA, man. I know a lot of gang members that have flipped the script, man. We're in Hollywood for lunch, man. And me and my son sit down. We're back at the hotel, and I grab my boy from the back and throw him down. My son is way larger than me, banging his whole life. I threw him on the ground. I gave him a kiss. I said, I love you, son. My father never told me he loved me. My father never gave me a kiss. My father didn't really know what it took to be a man. My father just trained me to be something I should not. I kiss my son. Listen to me, young guys. Every guy sitting here right now, I'm telling you, every male needs to have a father or a father figure. You say, why? And I'm saying, I don't care whether your father left, I don't care if you're able your father, you still need, and I know that's a button when people touch, especially if you've been through a divorce, especially if you've been abandoned, especially if you don't have a father at home. Watch this here. I'm telling you why. Because a father is supposed to tell their son who he is. He's supposed to have a plan for his life, and then he's supposed to help achieve that plan with his son. Your father's supposed to tell you that he loves you. And my father never did. And therefore, there was an empty part of me. And I want to challenge you guys, how in the world, you look up here, how in the world you can be all the rough, tough, all you think you are. How can you be a man if you never see a man? You got to be able to see a man. Someone's got to train you. And so I'm challenging you. I'm not putting you down if you don't have a father. I'm saying you better try to find a father figure. Find somebody you can speak into. Walk up to the principal. Get a male teacher. I had one teacher one day who just happened to be a white guy that walked up on me one day and he said, you know what, you're special. And when he told me that, he blew my mind. He said, you're special. And you know what, 16 years later, I called that man back on the phone and I said, thank you. There were a couple of men who spoke into my life. That's why I know that the spoken word can change a person's life. Just like some of you that are sitting here right now. So I want to challenge you guys. You're going to have to grow up. No one's going to put up with some of the ways that you act out there. You got to lay a foundation now before it's too late. I believe that most of the girls, not every girl because I'm not a female, but look, watch this here. I believe that the majority of you girls that are sitting here right now need to have a dad too. You say, why? I'm trying to figure out why. Why in the world do we have 1 million teenage girls that get pregnant every year? And you watch this, I can teach you something. Why do we have, I'm telling you, this little sexual so-called revolution? Why? I believe it's because of the father. I believe that most girls need to have a father. What are you talking about, Joseph? Let me tell you something. There's a process. There's a process. There are things that should put in place when you're growing up, when you were in middle school. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. When you were in middle school, there's something that should have happened. Your father should have been the one that would usher in the intimacy in your life, and he would teach you that. If your father never taught you that, something is missing. Most girls desire to be a daddy's girl. Most of you girls, I don't care what color, I don't care your hair, your clothes. Most girls that are sitting here right now, in your heart of hearts, your desire is to be a daddy's girl. And something should have happened when you were in the middle school. And it's something that was supposed to be ushered in. Your father should have walked up to you when you were in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and he should have put his arms around you and said, baby, I love you. And you're special. And if you never did that, something is missing. And the need for intimacy never went away. And you got confused because you got confused by your information source. He never affirmed you as a female. He was the one who was supposed to teach you. Look, a father's supposed to, a dad and a daughter, a father are supposed to protect, correct, and direct. When my daughters are around me, they protect it. When I'm out in public at a water park or even I'm out at home and my daughter's out in the yard, I'm like an eagle always protecting my daughter. When we're out in the public and someone walks up on my daughter, a bully, and he's pushing everybody else's kids around, I step up on him and I said, no, you can't do that to her because she's got a father. Some of you have been left without a father. And I'm telling you what's going to happen. I'll show you how some of you have lost your virginity. There are some of you girls that are sitting here right now that was never ushered in. When I go back home and my wife picks me up from the airport and she pulls in the front and she's in my car, I got a fine ride, I got a fine wife. And when I come out the Atlanta airport, and they got my bags, and my wife gets out of the car. She walks around the car. My wife used to be a TV news reporter, and she's fine. And when she walks around the car, I know inside there's a bottle of water. When she walks around the corner, she stands there, and I put my arm around her and just hug her. I grab her hand. That's all she needs. It's called intimacy. And she gets back into the car. Watch this here. There's some of you that are sitting here right now, mark my words. The reason why a lot of girls, man, draw guys that are no good is because they believe they draw what they think they deserve. And here's what will happen if the whole intimacy thing is not ushered in right. Here's what you'll do. Some boy, and most girls that I've met, date older guys. If I was a betting man, I bet you most of you girls that have lost your virginity, you lost your virginity to an older guy. Because most girls don't date younger guys, they date older guys, and one day he put his arms around you, you never knew it. He put his arms around you and said, I love you, and you're special. And right on the spot, you confuse intimacy with sexuality, and you lost your virginity over a humbug. Then after he got what he wanted, he moved on to your friend. You're no longer in the relationship anymore. He never knew. See, when anytime something like that happens, see, males are the aggressors. They're the conquerors. They deposit. Males are depositors. Females are receptors. That's why there's some of you that are sitting here right now. They came and got what they wanted. And they made a deposit, whether you got pregnant or an STD, or he just messed up your mind. See, that's deep. If you laid down with a guy and gave a guy your body, and he got into your mind, it's how it makes you feel after it's over. He no longer wants to touch you. He no longer wants to date you. And he just moves on. Some of you lost that right there. Listen to me. I want to challenge you today. And we've got promise coming up. Some of you that are sitting here right now, you've thought about it for 3 months, the night's tonight. Or tomorrow night, whatever prom is, I'm going to do it. I got a prom t-shirt. I want to show you this. Here's a scenario. Prom time is coming up. The little home, that's why some of the guys are sitting here kind of prom time. Because they know my chances are good. When's prom? Tonight or prom? Tomorrow. Oh man, my chances is good. They've been brushing 18 regular, changing underwear. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Prom time is coming. So here's the prom, and here's the limousine that picks her up. They go to the prom, they dance. I don't know if y'all got booty dances. Y'all have booty dances? They don't let y'all do booty dances. You know, booty dance, drop it like it's hot, kind of booty dances. So now you all worked up, and you go to Jennings' clothes. And he's out in the limo waiting, smiling. Tonight's tonight. Tonight's tonight. And I'm gonna get something. It ain't gonna be no Kentucky Fried Chicken either. I'm gonna get something that's gonna be finger looking good. I'm gonna get something. And he's in a limousine, and she comes out to the house or the hotel and just happened to pick up one of my t-shirts. And the closer she gets to the car, he reads the t-shirt. So I'm not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna do it. The back it says pet your dog, not your date. And a bunch of other, who like a free t-shirt? I mean, who like a free t-shirt going to the prom? Going to the prom, you need it. Stand up, man. Stand up. Why do you need a t-shirt? Huh? He's going. Oh, you need a new shirt. Are you doing it at the prom? Yeah. No, stop. No, don't even go there. Who's going? There you go, baby girl. Pass that back to her. Pass that back to her.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. If she was, she ain't no more. Let me ask you a real question real quick. Now, you got to do this real fast. Look up here. We're going to do this real fast. Now, we're going to do a survey. Don't freak the adults out. You got to throw your hands up, put them down real quick. If you can respond to this, if you can respond, some of y'all smoke weed. You're like, yeah, I'm going to put my hand up. Don't know y'all smoke weed? No. People that smoke weed, they just like, yeah, this is good. Teachers, don't let no kid tell you they can smoke weed and study better. That is a lie. Now, I know y'all in the country, but watch this here. Case in point. You ever had, I'm talking about some good weed. I'm talking about finger licking, sticking, one toe. Here's a bumper sticker. Marijuana. Proud sponsors of, I forget. You ever had a good bag of weed? Now, I know none of y'all smoke no weed, but watch this here. I guess it's #1 drug among some folks anyway. Watch this here. You ever had a bag of weed? I'm talking about, and twist up a joint, then hide the bag, and hit the joint, and 20 minutes later, you can't find the bag? An hour later, it was in your sock all the time. You know what I'm talking about. But real quick, how many of you that are sitting here right now, be honest, just throw your hands or holler or something, put them back down. How many of you that are sitting here right now are still virgins? I love white people. I love white people. I do. I love them. Hi. Not emotional. Hi, I am. Some of the freshmen. What's a virgin? Some of the freshmen trying to figure it out. I don't know what that is, brother. And there ain't that song, I Kissed a Girl I Liked It, is it? I don't know, I'm just all confused. Here's a t-shirt I designed. The t-shirt says what? I'm a virgin. Thank you, honey. It says, I'm a virgin and proud of it. Who's a virgin like a free t-shirt?
I am.
Are you still a virgin? Yeah. Come on, man. Come on. I believe you, brother. Come on, get this shirt. Now, I got a different color, though. We don't want to wear that pink one. Wouldn't say lie, pants on fire, but you ain't got no pants, all no pants. Oh, I knew something about your style, I ain't messing. And why y'all do that to my boy? How y'all know? How would you know? We got a virgin over here. You a virgin? Look. Why be embarrassed? Watch this here. Let me give you some information. 51% of all the kids in this country, 15 to 19 years old, are still virgins. In case you didn't know it. 51% of all the kids in this country, based on statistics, national statistics, 51% are still virgins. Therefore, let me suggest to you that if you're sitting here right now and you're a virgin, you have every right in the world to be proud of the fact that you're a virgin, and you ought to stand for what you believe. Your body don't belong to no football team. Your body don't belong to your boyfriend or girlfriend. Your body belongs to you. That's a choice that you make about your body. Now, who's proud of being a virgin? I'm going to give you a t-shirt. All right, I'll give it to the sister here. Pass that back to my brother right there. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Give her a hand clap. You gotta hurry up. I got another t-shirt. Here's another t-shirt since we own it. I don't have a problem with people sagging. I know they got their swag on. Watch this. I don't have a problem with white brothers or black guys sagging. Let me challenge you that if you're gonna sag, don't wear dirty underclothes. I don't mind, you know, the brother sagging, but I don't want to be behind you looking at all them stains. You know what I'm talking about. Here's a t-shirt that I designed. It says, pull them up. Everybody say, pull them up. The back say, pants up, see the mind, not the behind. You know what I'm talking about. Now, who's a dude want a t-shirt? Large? Gotta be large. Yeah, that's the one. Yep, the guy in the red right there. Yep, come on, son. I want to throw it. Yeah. Come and get the shirt, man. I ain't gonna throw it. Hit you if you want to sue me. You want this shirt or you want the virgin shirt? He's not sagging. It's good. All right. Well, you know where sagging come from, don't you? Now, don't get locked up and go to the joint. And you walk in, that's where it comes from, the joint. When they would sag, you don't have to bend over and get no soap. They just roll up on you. How you doing? Well, that's what they do. So you're happy, you're just glad to see me. You know what I'm talking about? That's how that would work out. Okay. All right. But I had the virgin stand up one day in school, man, and freaked out some adults. Ah! Please don't work. It's like, what? Well, why is the word virgin so offensive when cuss words are not? Let me just say this right here very quickly. I had that one teacher who spoke a word to me one day, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and said, you know what, you're special. And that's why I know that a spoken word, if you're sitting here right now and you're a cutter, I can almost look. And I'm not moved by how people dress or their hair or anything. I just know that even the moment I start talking about erasing, and erasing really is a way that they just kind of erase their skin. They hurt so much on the inside is that they want to hurt the outside. That's just their expression. It was almost when I first started talking about that, there were a couple of people that tightened up. You know what I'm saying? We know we cover that in the wintertime, but the summertime is coming up, so you can't cut no more on your arms because you can't wear long sleeve shirts in the summertime, so now you cut your legs. I am telling you, man, that is not a way of life. It is not a good choice. But I had this one teacher that pointed at me the one day and said, you know, you're special. And it blew my mind, man. I mean, this teacher took me out to his house one day and said, I want you to come out Saturday and come to my house. I'm like, yeah, man, that's cool, man. You know, I ain't never been to a white folks' house before, man. You know, I'm from the hood. I'm a hood rat, man. You know, I ain't never crossed the line. And I walked his house, and they opened the door. It was him and his wife. Brooke opened the door, and she was gorgeous. And I seen a purse on the couch, and I thought, wow, they didn't know I was coming over. Everybody said I was a thug and a thief. Why didn't she hide her purse? But it wasn't on my mind that I was going to do nothing. Make a long story short, I went out in the back and he barbecued. But there were about 20 other guys over there. That's just part of what the teacher did. And let me challenge those of you that are teachers here today. There was a time in our country when things were different. We live in a time right now that the war that America is fighting, and I said all the time, it's not in Iraq or Libya. That's not the battle or major war that America is fighting. No, the war that America is fighting is in the public school systems here over the hearts and the souls of our kids. They closed 46 schools in Detroit, Michigan, and now they're ready to close. They're closing schools all over the country. The attack is upon the lives of the kids. Kids, bear with me for a second. Let me say this to the adults. There was a time in our society when teachers were honored. There was a time, and I know what I'm talking about, the teachers lasted 30 years. Now the life expectancy of a teacher is 5 or 6 years. A teacher's required to be the mother, the father, the social worker, maybe not here then, but in most places. Overworked and underpaid, The attack is upon these kids. That's where it's at. And we have so many teachers now that left school, that came to school to be a part of this system. And I'm telling you right now, the most profound, honorable position can be is that of a teacher. Now watch this here. But G. Edward Burton said this 100 years from now, it's not going to matter the kind of house you live in, the kind of car you drove, the amount of money you had in the bank, but that you were important in the life of a kid. And I've seen so many teachers nowadays that no longer have that edge. They no longer look upon it as trying to change the world. They just come to school. Let me challenge you, teachers. They're dropping like flies. I wouldn't be a teacher. Maybe it's okay to be a teacher here, but I know teachers where they jump them and they cuss them out. I know schools that the kids, it's a miracle they can just get them in the classroom, let alone teach them something. The disrespect. Kids, I want to say this, your teacher is not your enemy. I want to challenge the teachers that are here today. You need to be reaffirmed. You need to understand that what you're doing is correct. And so I challenge you today, and I just speak life into you like the teacher spoke life. I just challenge you because there's always teachers that want to just give up. Maybe not here, but places I come from. So I want all the kids to clap for the teachers today. Clap for the teachers. I bought a teacher apple. I bought an apple for a teacher. I always wanted to bring an apple to the teacher. I didn't when I was growing up. But I went and got this apple right here. My daughter thought it was real and she bit into it. So that really is a signature apple right there. I'd like to give this to a teacher. Somebody point, who y'all pointing to? Oh, wow. Pass that back to that young man right there, please. Y'all clap for him. We honor the teachers today. The teachers are the good guys. You carry a pistol? No? That is good. We've got a few minutes left. We've got a few minutes left. I was going to mention this. A mother took a PlayStation away from her son in Philadelphia, and he was so angry that he killed his mom. And his whole reason behind it was the fact that he talked about she got on his nerves. I'm amazed that we have kids nowadays that are making decisions about their lives. How in the world do you think you have the right to cuss your mama? What goes around comes around. Let me finish. My son, I love him. And I left him that day and I told him this. I said, son, you've been locked up for 5 years. Now watch this here. And I'm going to reiterate what I said. Do what you want to do. If you want to get drunk, then you get drunk. If you're sitting here right now, and I've got letters that I've spoken to schools before proms, and I've had kids that have changed their minds on the spot. Because what if that's the day that you get pregnant? What if that's the day that you make a decision about your physical body and you pick up an STD or whatever it might be? That ought to be your choice. If you decide to do it, then you got to do it. But you have the right to say no. People need to value your opinion. And my son Jennings, I love him. I love all my kids. And I told my son this, listen to me. Look down toward this way, we're going to finish in a second. I told my son, if you'll do what I'm getting ready to tell you, you won't go back to prison. He said, what is that, Pops? I said, don't get high no more. He said, oh, okay. Now watch this here. See, when you make decisions about your body, about your life, make them for you, not the principal, not God, not the Pope, although those people might be important, but make decisions about your life for you, because it's you that pays the price for it. He said, okay, Pops. And man, we hugged some more, man, and hung out, and I left, and 3 months later, I get a phone call. I'm at the airport. Y'all stop. Because normally I kick people out the assembly. I'm just trying to be nice today. I want you to listen. And especially when I'm talking about my kids, because I'm very sensitive when I'm talking about my kids. Because he never made it to the 9th grade. And I left it that day and I'm at the airport and I get a phone call from his mom. And it blew my mind. Planes are taking off. There's all kind of noise at the airport and his mom's is telling me something on the phone and I'm saying, what? And then she tells me, my son James the night before was out hanging out in the corner trying to get high. See, some of you that are sitting here right now, you live for the weekend. There are some of you that are sitting here right now, boss of Betty, man, you are already struck out. You don't even know it. You're not but a choice away, man, from blowing it. They said my son was hanging out on the corner trying to get high, and some man heard my boy say he wanted to get high. And the man swooped my son and tried to flip the script, meaning he took my son back to his condo and said, hey, man, I'll get you high, man. Let's go hang out. I can get you high. And this man took my son back to his condo in Napa Valley, California, and my son didn't know he was set up. Man, just like a lot of you that are sitting here right now, you don't even know it. You've been played and you don't even know it. You say, I'll get high until the day I die. You got all kind of variables, all kind of things that you do. You don't really know how you were set up. And this man takes my son back to his house, and sure enough, he got my son high. If you want to get high, you can get high. If you want to get drunk, you can get drunk. That's your personal choice, though, but you got to pay the consequences. This man takes my boy back there playing each other. Man, now he's high. The guy goes in the bathroom. My son didn't know he was a pedophile. The man comes out the bathroom with no shirt on and a knife. And this man tries to rape my son. My son is larger than me. My son took the knife from the man and cut him up in pieces. My son killed the man on the spot. They gave my boy 15 years to life. On a humbug. On a humbug. My son ought not be locked up. My son ought to be here. You see, the first time he got locked up, my son would get up and say, you know what? When I got locked up the first time, my father taught me how to be a thug, but he changed and I changed. But he never changed. So my son can't get up and finish my message. My son got up this morning in an institution, 15 years to life. He's as violent now as he's ever been. He's still banging in the joint in order to survive. 15 years to life. He should have never got locked up. I want to challenge you right now. Don't nobody get no pass. Don't nobody have, look at me, no one has perfect parents. No one has a perfect life. Many guys are all kids and you're struggling trying to get your stuff laid. And I'm telling you, it's about a foundation. Look, my boy made a decision 20 years ago. To this day, it affects his life. The decision you make it now is going to follow you for a long, long time. And I'm saying today, if there's ever a time for you to just rethink it, it's now, that's all. And I'll say it again, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. If it's sex at the prom, then fine, but pay the price. If it's getting drunk, getting behind the wheel, then pay the price. Whatever it is you want to do, man, I'm cool with it. All I'm saying is that you're going through some stuff now, ought not be. This ought to be a good time in your life. This ought to be a time, man, when you can look back and say, you know what, I got it together. At any point in your life, you can grow up. At any point in your life. And when I say virgin or being drug-free or whatever, don't think for one moment that's less than anybody else. That's a person who's strong. That's a person that's making decisions about the lines that are correct. See, there's some of you that are sitting here right now, when I asked the part about the alcohol, and this was a little laid back than normal, there were some of you kids that sat here that have never drank before, and you were almost ashamed because you could put your hand up, but quite the contrary. You ought to be proud of the fact, if you're a senior or a freshman, and you don't drink and ain't never drank or drank and stop, you ought to be proud of the fact you've done that. Let me tell you one more story. And this is some of you that are sitting here right now. There were 3 guys, a true story. You'll never forget it as long as you're there. 3 guys are driving around the weekend. They're drinking, getting high, and they see a girl walking down the street. And they decide to kidnap and rape her. I want you to see the girl. They snatched this girl, they put a bag over her head, tied the bag and threw her in the back seat. I want you to just see the girl. I know that You might not have no issues, but if you can just see this girl. She's in the back seat of the car, 3 guys are in the front, and all they're talking about is raping this girl. I can only imagine what she was thinking. I can only imagine it's probably hard for her to breathe because of the bag being on her head. I could only imagine what she was going through. They drove around some more, it's party time, and they see one more boy walking down the street. They decide to get him as well. They pick him up and they tell him what they're going to do, and he said, man, I don't want to be a part of it, I'm not going to rape her. He must have been a good kid. Man, the majority of you girls and guys that are sitting here right now, you're good kids. You've been through hell, you've seen too much, they've told you too much. So finally get to the outskirts of town. Just watch this girl. One by one, they rape this girl. I can only imagine in the backseat of the car, not being able to breathe and bounced around, talk too dirty. And they raped this girl one by one. Then it came time for the 4th boy, the good boy. So they tell him something that made him change his mind. I don't know what it was. I know it was peer pressure. Maybe they put him down and told him he was stupid. I don't know what they said to this boy, but he changed his mind. I'm going to suggest that some of you guys that are sitting here right now, you're really a good kid. You're just following the path. You're doing some things that you know that's wrong in your heart. Because of peer pressure, you wish you could change it. One by one, they raped this girl. When it came time for the 4th boy, he got in the back seat and he get on top of her and he's starting to rape her. Now the bag, I want you to see the girl. As he's in the back seat raping this girl, somehow the bag from the force, the blunt, made the bag come off of her head and slipped off of her head. And the 4th boy is raping this girl. When the bag came off of her head, he looks down and it dawns on him that it was his sister he was raping. Can you see the girl? Just for a moment, can you see the girl look up, all that she had been through? And she look up, and the face she sees, the face of her brother. Now look at the brother. Could you imagine a good boy that went along with the crowd? Now he's doing something he really didn't want to do in the first place. And he looks down and he's raping this girl, and it dawns on him that he's raping his sister. He'll never get over it as long as he lives. If he'd have only known that was his sister, he wouldn't have went along with it. But it was somebody's sister.